In this video, I will demonstrate how to use text as a clipping mask on a photo in Adobe Photoshop. With an image open in Photoshop, right-click on the background layer and duplicate that layer. In your toolbar, find the horizontal type tool. Click and hold and it will bring up these options. Choose either the vertical type mask tool or the horizontal. I'll choose vertical for this example, and then click over in your photo. When you see red as you click, it means you're in mask mode. Now type in a word or phrase. I'll use the word tranquility. And if you want to make adjustments to this phrase, you want to make sure it is all selected. So you can do Command or Control A or double click. And now you can come up to the control panel and change the typeface, the font styling, the size, the anti-alias stylings. Alignment doesn't change much and you don't need to worry about color. You can always warp the text. And here I'm going to click this icon to pull up my character panel. And vertical letters have a lot of space between them, so I'll use the tracking option and do a minus to collapse that space between the letters. And actually I find I want it even smaller, so I'm going to type in 250 and hit Enter or Return key on my keyboard to get that spacing. Next, if you want to move the location of your type, you don't use the Move tool. Instead, you'll want to use the Marquee or Lasso tool. I like the Lasso tool. Once you click on it, you'll get these dotted lines known as the marching ants. Now come click inside the letters and you can move it different places in your picture plane. You can also use the arrow keys on your keyboard to nudge it into place. Next, at the bottom of your Layers panel, you want to find this icon and it will add a layer mask to that background copied layer. But notice over in your picture, the letters have disappeared. So turn off the visibility of the background layer and now you can see the clipping mask that it's made with the text. However, I now see that it's very difficult to read the word tranquility. And it's funny, tranquility can be spelled with one L or two. So if there's any reason that you need to go back and make changes to the text, you'll want to make sure that the thumbnail for the mask is selected. And then at the bottom of your layers panel, hit the trash can and delete that layer mask. Then you'll need to redo the text. So come back over to the vertical type mask tool. I'll type in the word again, and it has saved all my formatting, so I don't need to do those steps again. But know that if you go to Edit, Check Spelling, Photoshop will check the spelling of the words for you, so you can change that. I'll go over to the Lasso tool one more time, click inside the word, and move it back into place. In the Layers panel, I will again add a layer mask. This next step is optional, but if you click on this icon, it can add a new fill layer. I'll choose a solid color and turn it white. And then in my Layers panel, I'll grab that color fill and move it below my background copy. This fill layer will allow you to see some of the effects that you can add to the text. Make sure the background copy is selected in your Layers panel. And then you can either double click off over to the blank space, or you can come to the bottom of the Layers panel, click on the FX icon, and it will bring up the Layer Style panel. Here you have choices to add some layer styles to the text. Click the box next to Bevel and Emboss to add some Bevel and Emboss effects to the text there. And here's a preview. And then to make specific changes, click into the text itself and it will bring up this panel where you can change the options for the bevel and emboss. You can add a stroke and again, click on the word stroke to bring up the options. And here you can change things like the size of the stroke. And one of my favorites always is a drop shadow. So I'll click the check mark and then click into the word itself. And you can make changes to the drop shadow. For instance, you can change the distance, but a really fun thing is you can actually come over and click on the drop shadow itself in the picture plane and move it around and place it where you would like it. Then click OK to close that panel. And you can also in your Layers panel turn on and off the visibility of the different styling effects to choose which ones you like best. You can also turn off the visibility of your colored fill layer and turn back on the visibility of the background. And now you have your text clipping mask on this photo. I'm going to show you a second way to do a text clipping mask. This time I will use an additional photo as the clipping mask. I'll start with this photo as the background, and then I'll go to File, Place Embedded, and locate a second photo. I will use this photo of the sunset and click Place. You'll see it has its own layer in the Layers panel, and it has a bounding box you could make adjustments. Most of the picture will get clipped away, so I'm not going to worry about that. I will accept that placement. Making sure the new photo is selected in the Layers panel, I'll come back over to the Type tool and this time use the horizontal Type Mask tool. I'll click on top of this image and type in my text. This text comes from an old GIF or GIF, so you might recognize it. Double click or do Command or Control A to select the entire text, and again you can make changes to it. Mine is being affected by the tracking I had last time, so I'll open up the character panel and adjust that, and then also change the size a bit. Once you've made all of the changes and set your text, use the lasso tool to place it within the picture plane where you would like it. Then at the bottom of your Layers panel, add a mask. And you will now see that it has taken that second photo and used the text as a clipping mask on top of the first photo. Double click off to the side for that layer to bring up the Layer Style panel, and you can again add any of those styles and use them to customize your text. I'm not sure I like how the stroke looks, so I will just turn off its visibility. Because you have two overlapping images, you can come up here where it says Normal and click this drop down and experiment with different blend modes. These different modes are taking pixels from one image and blending them with the other, so each one has a different effect. I'll just choose Lighten. And now for this text, I do want to use my Move tool. You can click on the text and move it. If you watch a letter, like the letter T, as I take it and drag it on top of the background image, you can see the coloring of the letters changes depending on what colors or tones are in the background image. And next to the blend mode options, you have the option to change the opacity or transparency of those blend modes. And once you have everything the way you like it, it's time to save your work. Go to File, Save As. I save mine in my Creative Cloud files in a folder for this class. I rename it my first name, last initial, underscore. This is Unit 02.2, and we worked with text masks. I'll save it as a Photoshop document. And then for my web page, I'll go back to File, Save As, and change the format to a JPEG. And that is how you can use text as a clipping mask in Adobe Photoshop.